Hi, my name is Mark from DivakDevelopers.com. I want to thank you for joining us again. Today we are loading the roof on here. As you can tell right here, they got the boom truck where what they're doing is they're going to take all of this material, they're going to load it all up onto the roof. It makes it a lot easier for them, time consuming, and a lot of energy not wasted because the boom is lifting it up instead of them lifting it on, they have a power ladder sometimes, they put it on the ladder, bring it up and carry it up. With this, they're going to stock the whole top of the ridge with all the roofing stuff, and then they're going to start framing it all. I want to show you just what they were doing over here with the truck and how they did this. And once they get all of this material up and onto the roof, then they're going to start, and I'll show you exactly what they're going to do with all of the material, like as an ice and weather shield and everything else to protect this roof. I want to also show you a couple things inside, and you know what? Let's go inside and I'll show you right now. I want to show you guys something that's very important over here. Right here is what's holding up our ridge. These are posts. Now these posts are brought from the bottom of our ridge straight down to a bearing wall over here. They're all over this attic right now. What's going to happen is that when the roofer comes, like I was showing you before, they're loading that roof up, and there's a huge amount of weight that's going on this roof that'll push it out. These things are very important. They're going to help us support that load and future loads for when it snows, because that really causes a big time load. So you really have to make sure that your contractor is supporting your ridges all the way down here on a bearing load wall. If it's not, it's going to bow your ceiling, it's going to push out your walls, and you're going to have a major structural problem. So make sure they're doing that. Our guys right now just took a break from laying the roof down. They're moving along pretty well because they'll dispense the load as they're going, because they're going to start using the shingles, of course. But the initial drop is very heavy. You've picked up a bundle of shingles, and a bundle of shingles weighs a ton. So you can imagine just putting stacks of them on the roof and what kind of load that's going to carry you. So make sure that your contractor is definitely doing that. Because Divak Developers make sure that we have all our posts down on bearing beams. We're down here. I want to show you guys about counter flashing. This roof is done, as you can tell. And if you look on the side over here, counter flashing is what's running up the wall. Right over here. That's running up the wall. The counter flashing is a metal part that's running up the wall, and the other part is called ice shield. That is like a sticky surface, like a little rubber membrane that runs up the roof too. So our siding can come down over the top of it, so no water that shoots up underneath can go underneath our roof and keep everything nice and dry. That's what you really want. You want to make sure you're definitely putting counter flashing, your contractor's doing that, and the ice and water shield. It's called weather watch. It's what they call ice and water shield. And it comes in rolls, and they roll it out like that. They put 3 foot up. It also helps, as you notice over here, on our fascias. They'll run it down, they wrap it down, it's the black part hanging over the 2x6 right there. And what that does, they want to make sure they hang that down at least 4 or 5 inches. And what happens is that the gutters will go over the top of that, so when the ice freezes in there, that's what happens. They call ice damming. The water freezes, turns into ice right into your gutters, and then the water has nowhere to go, so it backs up underneath the shingles and starts pouring into your house. Well, this prevents that, because that goes up at least 3 feet up to protect that, so it won't go all the way up and into your house. And that's really important, so make sure your contractor's doing that too, okay? You can see that the shingles are hanging off here, right? And you're wondering why they're hanging off. Well, they're staggering the joints, which is very important too, because if you have joints that are all going down and they line up all the way down this way, and then they line up all the way, it could cause potential leaks. When you stagger them, you're going to make sure that the water, if it gets in, it goes on to the next shingle, and it'll go right out. And if it gets underneath one, it'll go on top of another one and come out. That's very important. So you want to make sure your contractor's doing that. And if he starts at an end, with the one shingle at the bottom and starts going his way up, and he keeps it all the way on the one side, well, he's not staggering his joints. And that's a problem. You want to definitely make sure he does, and then he'll come at the end and cut this all out. and have the proper overhang too, because this house is going to get AZAC, which is a 1x material, so it's 3/4 of an inch. So he wanted to make sure you at least have 3/4 of an inch and then another inch to hang over for your support, so that the water comes down and hangs out, and you know, if the water makes it over, it'll just pour over the top and not down the face. That's very important too. So you want to make sure that you have that. When also different color choices, you know, different kinds of shingles. There's all different weights and everything else that you want to look at. You want to check with your contractor what he spec'd, because it can get very expensive. There are, most of the shingles now are lifetime. 50-year they call lifetime. So that's, you know, your standard shingle, and then they have other ones that are ultra, that are just thicker. They have more density. They have shadow lines. They look like it's slate imitated, that kind of things, and they become more expensive. So you want to make sure before you go pick out a color and what you like, you make sure you talk to your contractor first and make sure that they have the right budget amount in there, because the next thing you know, you pick that out, they'll put it on, and then they'll give you an overcharge and be like, well, you picked a more expensive shingle, it was $5,000 more. And you don't want to have that. You just want to make sure that you're on top of it and you know exactly what you are allowed to spend and keeping that budget. I want to show you guys real quick what I was talking about, the weather watch, the weather seal. Alright, if you look over here, I'll give you an example of what's going on over here. They have the first 3 feet, as you can see, of weather watch. Then it turns into tar paper, and then on the angle, you'll see it's going back to weather watch up the wall. And then they'll put the flashing in on top of that. That's what's very important. That's what we want to have on our house. That will protect it from all ice and everything freezing up when ice damming and all that stuff. You want to make sure your contractor's doing that. If he's not, stop him and make sure he's getting that on there. Thanks again.